The delicate chime from the reception desk sent a ripple of anticipation through the air, and I felt my heart race as I stepped into the extravagant ballroom. Glimmering chandeliers adorned the ceiling, casting a warm glow over families eagerly reuniting after years apart. Laughter mingled with the clinking of glasses, but as I scanned the crowd, a chill crept down my spine. I wasn't ready for the unexpected storm hiding behind those elegant smiles. And there she was, Aunt Margaret, her sharp tongue poised and her eyes glinting with the sort of disapproval that cut through the cheerful ambience. "Greedy, just like your father," she declared loudly, her words slicing through the joyous atmosphere. The laughter around fell silent, and the spotlight shifted to me. Heat flooded my cheeks as childhood memories surged back, her relentless comparisons that seemed to shadow my every move. "Mom, ignore her," Chloe whispered, her innocent eyes wide as she processed the tension. She stood across the room, an island of calm in a sea of judgment. I wanted to tell her not to worry, that I could handle this. But the sting of my aunt's words lingered in the air like a sour note in a symphony. The evening had taken a turn, and I felt like I was on a tightrope, teetering between defense and disappointment. Then, as if the universe had scripted a dramatic twist, Chloe took a step forward. She approached Aunt Margaret, and I held my breath, a mixture of pride and fear swirling in my chest. What was she going to say? My heart raced even faster as she pulled out her own wallet, and my mind reeled in disbelief. "Aunt Margaret, let me take care of this," she said, glancing back at me with a smile that suggested a deeper understanding than I realized. Gasps rippled through our family and friends as the shock settled in. My daughter, at such a young age, was showing a generosity that I had fought to instill in her. In an instant, the spotlight shifted again this time. It was my admiration meeting my aunt's disbelief. I wanted to cheer her on, to remind myself that kindness matters more than judgment. But how did I reclaim my voice in this family dynamic? As the night unfolded, the shadows of my aunt's remarks morphed into something transformative. Would I finally stand up to the weight of my family's expectations, or would I hide in the shadows as I always had? The choice lay bare before me, and what came next would redefine not just my path, but my daughter's as well. Stay tuned, there's much more to unravel, and I assure you, the best is yet to come. Before we continue with this surprising revelation, a quick alert for you who follow our stories. YouTube has been removing subscriptions lately, so check if you're still subscribed and leave your like to support the channel. Now, back to the crucial moment. As Chloe's words hung in the air, I felt a strange mix of pride and anxiety tugging at my heart. My daughter, unscripted and genuine, had just walked into the lion's den. Aunt Margaret's narrowed eyes widened in disbelief, and the room was thick with anticipation. I could see the gears turning in her mind, likely calculating how to respond to a gesture so foreign to her way of thinking. "Chloe, that's not necessary," I finally managed to say, stepping forward, my voice shaky. I wanted to protect her, to shield her from the undercurrents that swirled between our family members. But as I looked at her resolute expression, a spark of defiance ignited within me. What would it mean for her to witness me back down now, especially after she'd taken such a bold stance? "It's just a drink, Mom," Chloe replied, her voice steady as she placed her hand on my shoulder, grounding me. There she was, my sweet girl, lighting the path with her innate kindness, while I felt trapped in a cycle of familial disapproval. I glanced around, taking in the reactions that bounced like whispers off the opulent walls. Some gasped. Some mulled quietly, and a few exchanged incredulous glances. "See, generosity in our family seems like an alien concept," Aunt Margaret sneered, her snide remark like a dagger aimed straight for us. That was it. This time, the words didn't sting as they should have. Instead, they ignited something deep within me. "Margaret," I began, my voice unwavering, "it's never been about greed. It's about values, kindness, and understanding." The room fell silent, the tension suspended like an unfinished note in a melody. I felt the weight of eyes on me, weighing my words like precious gems. Did I dare push back against the long-standing script the family had written for me? "Mom, it's okay," Chloe reassured me again, her smile unwavering, as if she was reminding me that we were stronger together. In that moment, I realized a shift had occurred not just with her, but within me. The fear of judgment seemed so much smaller when framed against my desire to protect and nurture the bond we shared. But would my newfound courage hold strong against Aunt Margaret's legacy of judgment? In this grand ballroom, friendships and family ties hung in the balance. As I finally stood up for myself and Chloe, I felt a path opening toward clarity and understanding, the air crackling with possibilities. The night was still young, and I could feel the gears of fate turning ever so slightly in our favor. Would I fully embrace this unexpected turning point? Or would the shadows of my past roots bind me again? One thing was certain. The truth awaited us, shimmering just out of reach, ready to both challenge and empower our family's legacy. Stay tuned, because we're only scratching the surface of this intricate family saga. The next chapter promises even more surprises as we delve into the dynamics that could change everything set in motion tonight. And remember, your support means the world, so double-check that subscription and give a like before we unravel our next twist. Now, let's dive deeper into this unfolding story. As I stood there, face to face with Aunt Margaret, my heart thudded like a drum, echoing the tension surrounding us. Chloe's brave gesture had sparked something in me, yet I still wavered, unsure if I could challenge the bedrock of our family dynamics. Aunt Margaret's sharp gaze bore into our souls, and I could practically hear the whispers crawling up the walls, each one rooting for my defeat. Values, she scoffed, a smirk twisting her lips. You call this a value? Running up bills and pretending to be generous. This is not how it works in the real world. Every word dripped with disdain, adding layers to the already thick atmosphere. A flicker of anger ignited within me. How could she dismiss my daughter's kindness so easily? I took a deep breath, setting my shoulders back, ready to uphold the values I had instilled in Chloe. Margaret, it's about more than money. It's about teaching compassion. You wouldn't understand, of course, with all the greed clouding your judgment. The stunned silence that followed was palpable. Guests turned to watch, each face reflecting a mix of surprise and curiosity. Aunt Margaret's eyes widened, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw uncertainty flicker behind her steely exterior. Chloe, sensing the shift, gave my hand a gentle squeeze, like an anchor for my stormy thoughts. "Mom, we've got this," she whispered, her confidence grounding me. I admired my daughter's spirit, forging a path through the tension that had tangled our family roots for too long. As I glanced around the room, I noticed more than just the judgment. There were smiles, small nods of approval mixed amongst the whispers. Was it possible? Was I finally breaking free from the past that had clung to me like shadows? Maybe it's time to redefine what generosity means in this family, I declared, my voice rising, fueled by strength I didn't know I possessed. To embrace kindness rather than wealth as the true measure of success. Those words hung in the air like a challenge, daring anyone to stand against them. Aunt Margaret's expression darkened, her surprise giving way to fury. "You think you can just rewrite our legacy? You're naive, you're just running from the truth." But in that moment, amidst the glaring chandeliers and glances from curious relatives, I felt liberated. Would I stand down now? The stakes were too high. I could feel the curious gazes around us, the ripples of change starting to form. But how far would I go? Would this newfound confidence pave the way for healing or ignite a power struggle that could shatter the fragile family ties? Stay with me as we unravel this intricate web of family dynamics in the next chapter. It's about to get even more intense. This is just the beginning of a transformation that could reshape our entire story. And if you're still enjoying our journey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a like. Now, let's move forward. The ballroom was alive with a palpable energy as the evidence of my defiance lingered in the air. Aunt Margaret glared at me, her disappointment morphing into a tight-lipped smile that did nothing to hide her scorn. The courage I had mustered swirled within me like a whirlwind, granting me an unexpected rush of clarity. I could sense the room shift. The curious eyes of family members absorbing the confrontation, a silent audience to an act of rebellion I never thought myself capable of. Naivety has never been a virtue, dear. She shot back, her voice dripping with condescension, a well-practiced retort I had heard too many times in my youth. The echoes of her judgments floated back to me, reminding me of the countless family gatherings where I had cowered under her scrutiny. Yet, in that moment, I felt the weight of my daughter's hands squeezing mine, a steadfast reminder not just of support but of a bond forged in kindness, compassion, and shared values, everything Aunt Margaret seemed to dismiss. Funny how we are often blind to our own faults, I replied, my voice surprisingly steady, intent on shedding the weight of years, defined by someone else's perception. Kindness doesn't come with a price tag, nor does it require validation from those who fail to see its value. Behind me, the whispers swelled like a tide, flipping the script of our family narrative as some guests nodded in agreement, others shifting uncomfortably. But Aunt Margaret, true to form, remained unyielding. When you're living in a fantasy, darling, it's easy to peddle such nonsense without fear of the real world. But it was in Chloe's eyes that I found my resolve. Her bright, unwavering look showed pure empathy, a stark contrast to the coldness I had been accustomed to from my aunt. Mom, let's not feed into her negativity, she chimed in, her voice a soothing melody in a discordant symphony. It felt like Chloe was pulling me back from the brink of debate, reminding me that this wasn't solely about me defending myself. This was about teaching her that love and generosity stood taller than the judgment of others. Chloe is right, I said, turning to face my daughter, my voice softening. We're not here to measure our worth, Aunt Margaret, in drinks or bills. Family should be built upon understanding and compassions, something that often gets lost in finances and status. Aunt Margaret's eyebrow arched impossibly high, her skewered facade cracking slightly. Perhaps it was because for the first time, she wasn't in control of the narrative. You think your little lesson in kindness is going to rewrite decades of tradition? You think that's enough? She challenged, her tone still dismissive, but I could see the seeds of doubt beginning to take hold. Maybe it's time for change, I replied, surprising even myself with the certainty of my words. Each syllable felt stronger, like a hammer striking against the anvil of her beliefs. I could see the wheels of thought spinning behind her cold eyes, her mind grappling with the fact that I stood before her not just as a child of the family but as a parent, an equal in this conundrum of familial expectations. Change is risky, my dear, and often unwelcome, she retorted, trying to regain her footing. Don't you see? This isn't a fairy tale. You don't just wish for a better family. You fight for it. With every challenge she threw my way, I felt my own determination solidifying. Exactly, Aunt Margaret, and that's what I'm doing right now, I affirmed, sensing the tide turning as some family members leaned in closer, captivated by the exchange. What you perceive as kindness might simply be naive foolishness, she hissed, fury breaking through her usual icy demeanor. But I could see the anxious trembling beneath her bravado, a glimmer of uncertainty that emboldened me to press on. Perhaps it is those neatly labeled perceptions of yours that need a reevaluation, I countered, feeling a sense of empowerment surge within me. It's about time we shed the burdens of our family heritage and embrace something new, a legacy of empathy instead of shame. Chloe stood beside me, now a beacon of calm amidst the brewing storm. Change can be scary, but that's where growth lives, she added, her gentle tone weaving through the charged atmosphere. Aunt Margaret's face paled further, her discomfort visible as murmurs swelled around us, debating whether they were witnessing a confrontation or the dawn of a new understanding within our family. And then it happened. Instead of shrinking away in the face of criticism, I felt a sense of freedom unfurling within me, a blossoming realization that I was reclaiming my narrative not just for myself, but for Chloe, for the future we could build together beyond the tightening noose of family expectations. I'm ready for the risk if it means nurturing the love and kindness we can hold dear, I said, my conviction unwavering, gazing straight into Aunt Margaret's eyes. Are you? The silence that followed was heavy, thick with anticipation, the room hanging on the brink of a revelation that could either bind us tighter in judgment or set us all free from the shackles of the past. As I stood there, chin held high, a small voice broke through the tension. "What's wrong with wanting a better world?" It came from one of the younger cousins, eyes bright and full of hope. Aunt Margaret's icy demeanor faltered. Her expression caught somewhere between fury and perplexity, and, just for a moment, I saw her walls of indifference crack, the hint of vulnerability piercing through the facade. But the road laid ahead still felt perilous, and while that tiny crack was a sign of change, I knew the journey toward healing our family ties would be fraught with long-held beliefs, simmering anxieties, and the inevitable need to face complex histories. In that instant, I understood that our story was far from over. The resolution of my turbulent history with Aunt Margaret was just one chapter in the greater narrative of our family and how we would navigate this new course together, growing stronger, understanding one another more deeply, and perhaps redefining what it would really mean to be a family in the modern world. Stay tuned, because the next chapter will dive even deeper into whether this newfound courage can turn the tide permanently for us. Share your thoughts in the comments and let's explore what it means to grow together amidst the challenges. Your support means everything. Stick around for the next installment of our journey. As the night wore on, the rhythm of the ballroom shifted, and I could sense a palpable change in the air. Aunt Margaret, usually so unyielding, looked momentarily disarmed as the room began to buzz, with whispers, hushed conversations filled with hope and understanding. Chloe's courage had ignited something I had long suppressed, just as I too was beginning to shed the layers of insecurity that had defined my interactions with my aunt for too many years. "Maybe you're right," Aunt Margaret said finally, her voice softer, tinged with something new, perhaps uncertainty or a desire to connect. "Maybe kindness does need to be nurtured more than it has been. But change, it's never easy." "True," I replied, feeling my heart race, "but we owe it to ourselves and each other to try. Aren't we worth that?" I glanced at Chloe, who stood tall beside me, her eyes shining with pride. This moment wasn't just about battling my aunt. It was about paving a new path for my daughter, a legacy where generosity and love transcended judgment. To my surprise, Aunt Margaret sighed, her shoulders sagging as if a weight had been lifted. Perhaps I could practice a bit more understanding. And, just like that, the room held its breath. With vulnerability finally gracing her demeanor, she looked at me and said, "I'm sorry for the hurtful things I've said. You're right. We could use some kindness in this family." I felt a ripple of amazement wash over the crowd. This was a moment I never expected. Chloe beamed, and I too felt the buoyant sense of possibility swell within me. Could it be? Perhaps the cycle of judgment could be broken, a fresh narrative emerging in its wake. As I took my daughter's hand, I knew the story didn't end here. The road to healing would require patience, but it seemed we were finally moving in the right direction. I turned to my family and said, "Let's celebrate new beginnings together. Together we can forge a future that values each other more than our past disputes." And with that, the evening unfolded, laughter ringing out, families that had once felt estranged drawing closer, and hope filling the air. Thank you for joining me on this journey of discovery. If you found inspiration in our story, don't hesitate to subscribe and keep following as we navigate these complex family ties. Your support makes all the difference. Stay tuned for our next chapter, where we embrace the change and the warmth of new beginnings together.